Okay, yeah. So with looking for a career as a police officer, we talked about the fact that don't have negative interaction with police. Pretty much what it says is you have to have good moral habits and character, right? So you have to be the person that people in the community will look up to and say, you know what? Yes, if I need help or I can have a conversation with this person's going to point me in the right direction because they live to that higher standard. Okay. With policing, of course, with York Regional Police in particular, we have a we work 12-hour shifts. Okay. So from the start, you're working 12 hours a day, and it's 4 days. We have a split shift, so four shifts, 2 days, 12-hour shifts, 2 days. It could start anywhere from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then we have a changeover, which means when you work the second day shift, you don't come to work until the next night. So if you work Monday, Tuesday, you're not going to go back to work until Wednesday at 6 p.m. or 7. And it goes 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. We also have a couple of split shifts to give officers a little bit more of a break so that officers aren't completely drained, right? So we have a 12 p.m., so 12 noon shift to 12 a.m. We also have a 3 p.m. shift to a 3 a.m. shift, which give officers a little bit more of flexibility that officers aren't working. I mean, sometimes it happens, but we try not to, have officers work after 12 hours, right? You go in and you have to work another 3. Sometimes it does happen, unfortunately, but if we can avoid it, we will make officers, work the 3 to 3s and the 12 to 12s. So it gives the officers that are working from 6 and 7 in the morning a chance to leave on time. When it comes to, so right away, because we're working 4 days on, we get 4 days off. So we work 4 days, we get 4 off. So say you take vacation and you take what we call blocks. So you take those 4 days off, you automatically are going to get 12 days because you're going to get the 4 days off that you were off before, the 4 days that you're supposed to, that's 12, and the 4 following days. So you will be getting 12 days for vacation. So right away, you're only working half the year. We also have stat time. So because police officers work statutory holidays. So Christmas, New Year's, Canada Day, all of the holidays, if your shift falls on those days, you have to work those days. But we get a stat day for each day. So a statutory holiday for each day that you have to work if you have to work the holiday. So it's 120 hours a year that you get. We also have a thing called accrued time. So accrued time is another, I think it starts at 104 hours. So you're getting your 4 on, 4 off. So you're getting half a year, plus you're getting your accrued time, your stat time, and you're also getting vacation time. Vacation time for a new officer, it's, I believe it's roughly about 120 hours. So you're getting 120 hours of vacation time. So you have a lot of time that you get. I mean, it's hard work, it's enjoyable work, but you get the time off as well to compensate. When it comes to working different units, that's another thing that police offers, right? So policing, there are many careers within the policing career. So different jobs. So like myself, in my 16 years that I've been on the job, I've worked uniform patrol, which is everybody has to work uniform patrol. That is a guarantee. You can't skip. So I've worked uniform patrol. I've worked the community-oriented response unit, and that unit, it takes care of problems in the neighborhood. So if people are having problems with people running stop signs, for instance, people congregating and disturbing neighbors and other citizens to enjoy their property, that's the unit that would go out and investigate and be there to lay charges or just to educate people if that's the way to go, because sometimes it's better to educate people rather than just be heavy-handed and enforce and give tickets. I mean, if you have to, sometimes you have no choice. I did Criminal Investigation Bureau. It's where, detectives work. So I've done a couple of stints, 30 days, and then I did 6 months in that unit. That's where if something happens, say you have a break and enter at your house, anything like that, that's where the investigation, frontline police officer would maybe attend, but then the Criminal Investigation Bureau would take over and investigate and try to come to a resolution, whether it be arresting people, taking them to court, and so on and so forth. I've done uniform recruiting. Uniform recruiting is the position I recently left. So I left a week ago. I did that for 2.5 years, a little over 2.5 years. And I'll be joining Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau starting tomorrow. So it just gives you a brief synopsis as to different units that you can get into. Now, some people may come in and they have, technical background. They want maybe forensics, maybe they, that's what they went to school for. They went to school and they're really good at computers. There's opportunity to work in that regard, but it's a competitive field. So every job that is posted, you have to apply and compete for these jobs. But if your interest takes you, your interest could take you into traffic because you want to make sure that the roads are safe and you like interacting with people on the road and writing tickets and giving, citizens a safer community to live in, that's another avenue that you can go to. So there's a vast array of different areas that you can work in. It's just what your preference is. And again, every job that's listed, you compete. If you get it, that's your job. So it just gives you a brief idea as to the different units. I mean, we have so many different units in policing that it's unmatched by any other type of job that you'll ever do. When it comes to, we have areas that, like school resource officers. So if you like working, with school-age children, so it could be from middle school, primary school, all the way up to high school, we have that in place. So officers can work in that area and do all the different things. When it comes to preparing yourself for a job as a police officer, you need to know what is required. So with the first aid CPR and being of good moral habits and character, that's a necessity. You also have to get an OACP certificate. And that certificate is offered through TNT police testing. So TNT is the provider that tests candidates so that they can attain the certificate. And with the certificate, you can, once you get the certificate, you can apply to any force, any police service within Ontario. But you have to get that certificate. There's a cost associated to the certificate. I think it's $250, give or take, but that's what is the price that you'll have to pay to get the certificate. Now, once you get the certificate, you can apply to any police service that you want to. Sorry, my camera just went off a little bit. I just want to make sure everybody. Florence, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure. It's hard when there's no interaction.
You just want to make sure we're listening.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
All right. Once you get the certificate, you can apply to any of the forces in Ontario, because we're not going to say, as much as York Regional Police is a great place to work. I endorse it. I've been here for 16 years. I would not want to work anywhere else. I did not apply anywhere else, and I wouldn't want to work anywhere else. But you can apply to any other service that you know, if you maybe are from the Durham region or the Peel region or Toronto, wherever, OPP, you can apply. We'll never tell you, oh, just apply to us, because then you'll be putting yourself in a position where if you want the job, you know, you can always go somewhere, and if you really want to work for York and for some reason York did not, you know, hire you, you can always come back after, say you go to Toronto for a couple of years. Once you are there, you get, you know, trained up, we'll always accept you. And same thing with other services. They will always take people in that are trained up. So the brief little bit about the applicant process. So once you get the OSCP certificate, you have your first aid, and you want to put a package together, you can always call into the recruiting unit or email, because you will get response. So you can call in just to see what you need. If you go on the website, it has, so your yrp.ca, it has dropped down what you need to become a police officer. Once you get all of that and you want to put the application is on the system as well. It's going to ask you for everything from your address to where you went to school, and it's going to start with secondary school. So secondary, you're going to need to put down any colleges that you attend or university. In the application package, it'll say you need high school, 4 years of high school or equivalency. That will be changing. I believe in 2022, it'll be changing to minimum, you're going to have some college. Okay, so, and it doesn't matter, because people think, oh, do I have to take police foundations? You don't have to take police foundations. And if you had gone to school for anything else, you can apply once you have that diploma or degree. So once you have the application package put out, and it's going to ask you for work, where have you worked? So it's going to require you to put in every place that you've ever worked at. And it doesn't matter, you could be babysitting or grass cutting or, you know, your newspaper carrier when you're 12 or 13. We just want to see that you work. It's going to ask you for volunteer. Volunteering in policing is essential. So you need to volunteer, and it just wants to show that you're giving up of your time and you're not getting financially compensated. Okay, so it wants to, it doesn't have to be a big outfit like Big Brothers, Big Sisters, or Victim Services. It doesn't matter. You could go, if you go to church and you help to set up, I mean, back before COVID, and you help set up for, church outings, maybe it's a bake sale, whatever you do, as long as you did it and you didn't get paid. But we also need you to give us whomever you volunteer with. So we're going to need a name so that we can verify that, yes, say, Mario has been volunteering and he does certain amount of hours every week or every month or whatever. And we're not telling you that you have to go out and do 5 hours a week. If you have a half hour a week, do that, because that's all you have. If you have 2 hours, do that. It's what you can, it's what you can afford to give. So once you fill the application out, you then will send it to recruiting@yrp.ca. Once you get, and before COVID, you were able to go into the recruiting building at 70 Bales Drive in East Gwillimbury, and a recruiter would come out and sit with you, go over your application to make sure that you have everything there. But because of COVID, we are suggesting that people email their applications in, or you can mail it. I mean, snail mail, because that takes forever. But once you email it, a member of the recruiting unit, the administrative assistants, will get that package, look it over to make sure everything is there. If everything isn't there, you'll be contacted saying, oh, we need you to put, so we need diplomas, transcripts, and any kind of certificates that you have. Put it all in there. Once it's received, you will get a return email with your file number. So for instance, we're in 2021, it goes by year, so it'll be 21 dash, let's say 300. That will be your file number. So every time that you call in, or you have to speak with somebody from the recruiting unit, you can use that file number. And just, yeah, so once you send your application in, not everybody, unfortunately, will get a chance to come in for the next steps. So the next steps of the process will be what we call the Sigma. And the Sigma is just a Sigma survey. It's, you go in and you're going to be writing, answering questions. So there's some math questions, there's some English, report writing, that kind of thing. It's just word association. You're going to be writing that in that booklet. It takes, there's 70 questions and it takes 35 minutes for you to do. So the way we do it is don't spend too much time on the ones that you don't know. Just go to the ones that you know. If you have time, you come back to the ones that you were having a little difficulty with. The PBQ, for the ones that are lucky to be invited, the PBQ is the pre-background questionnaire. The pre-background questionnaire is a document. It's got a lot of questions that it asks. It asks about your schooling, about your drinking, about drug use, about association with anybody that you've known, including family members. We want to know everything about your life, because the reason why we want to know that is if, say, you got through and you were to get on the job, we want to make sure that we are going to investigate everything about people that we're taking on to work alongside us. So it's a detailed booklet, and we want you to be as honest and as forthcoming as possible. So don't leave anything out, because if you leave something out and we find it, it's gonna not look so good and you will be eliminated from the process, plain and simple, okay? So if you come in, you fill out your pre-background questionnaire, and again, we have to review it. it's reviewed with a recruiter at the time that you write it. So if you, once you've done that, if you're successful, you may be invited in for an interview. And the interview is a panel interview. So there may be 2 or more people, could be an officer and a civilian, 2 officers, and they will go over your application again with you, with your volunteering and all that. And you will also have your pre-background questionnaire reviewed again, but this time will be in detail. If you pass your interview, then you essentially kind of moving into the background stage. So you will get a psych test. And a psych test is upwards of 750 questions that you have to answer by yourself. It's done, you're alone in a room with a computer, and you have to answer these questions. Once you answer the question, we don't know if you, because we don't know how to read it, we're not psychologists, we then send you to a psychologist. Psychologist will then determine whether or not you're mentally ready to take on the job as a police officer. And you'll be going through the background process. And if you were successful at the psychological stage, you will get a background officer assigned to you. So you'll be getting a call saying, "Hey, Lane, Constable Lincoln Boyd, I'm going to be your background investigator, and everything that you need to provide, you're going to provide it to me, and I'm going to do your background." So I'm going to be calling your work. I'm going to be calling schools that you attended. So your colleges or university, I'm going to be calling them to see if you had any problems with academics. So if you ever got for plagiarizing or cheating on tests or having issues with campus security, because that information is necessary, we need to know. And once you do all of that, and we will also send you to a medical doctor to see that you're medically fit. During the process as well, there's a prep session. And a prep session, it's police readiness evaluation, physical readiness evaluation for policing. So you have to go, if I don't know if anybody's ever done it, it's a circuit. So you have to run around cones, jump over walls, go upstairs, downstairs. You have a push-pull restraint machine, and you do that a couple of times. Then you do a dummy drag. Dummy is 170 pounds, and you have to simulate that maybe it's somebody that you have to drag out of a building or out of a danger zone. So you're going to be dragging that dummy, and you have to do it in 2 minutes and 37 seconds. There's also a shuttle run. A lot of people know it as the beep test, and you have to run to minimum 7. Okay, so once you get through all of that, and you have to pass every process, every portion of the process, and once you've done, and the background investigator decides, yes, there's no red flags, you're good to go, your file will come back, and it will go to it goes to all the sergeants, staff sergeants, inspector, super, all the way up to the chief. And in the background, you'll be also writing a life summary, so important events in your life, and a letter to the chief. So you're going to address it to the chief saying, "Dear Chief McSween, this is why I want York Regional Police," and just outlining why it is that you chose York Regional Police. So it's a letter of commitment. Once that's all done, you may be given a job offer. Okay, so it's not a sure thing. It's a long process. And if you are given a job offer, it's conditional. So the condition of the job offer is that you pass all the components of the Ontario Police College and all the levels that when you come back. So if you get hired, you come to training branch, you'll be spending your first 4 weeks with the training branch. They're going to do all this, working on weaponry, the classroom, get you prepared for when you go to OPC. When you go to OPC, Ontario Police College, you will then have to go through that 13-week program that I talked about. And the conditional job offer is dependent on you passing all levels of the program. There's also a PIN test that's required. So it's kind of similar to the prep, but this is where you do push-ups and some body flex where you have to hold your body up, laying on a bench with somebody sitting on your leg, and you're going to have to go through that and stretch and reach just to see how flexible you are. So that's the physical component. Yeah, and once you've successfully completed the Ontario Police College, you will come back for a formal graduation. And before I get to that, the price for going to the Ontario Police College is $14,750. I know it sounds like a daunting figure, but we have the Police Credit Union there that's ready. On your first day, they will be in the building and they will be offering people loans, okay? Because you're a police officer now, right? You will be getting a loan and you will work out a payment plan where it just comes right off of your paycheck. And yes, for people that may be asking, you are getting paid even when you're being trained. So I know that's a question that people might ask. So you will be getting paid right from the get-go. So once you get brought in that first day of orientation, you will be getting paid. Okay, once you come back, we have 5 districts. We have 5 districts. They're in Markham, Vaughan, Newmarket, Richmond Hill, and Sutton. You will get a choice of 3. So you get you pick up 3, and you're not guaranteed to go where you picked because it's organizational needs. Where they need the bodies, that's where we'll get the most officers. Okay, and so once you get back, you will come back, you will go to your respective division or district. You will then get signed up with a coach officer, and the coach officer will take you through all the things that you will be doing once you're on the road. And there your career can start, and then you can start doing what you like. And yeah, so again, like if you're interested in the career in policing, really do give York Regional Police a look, because we are, and I'm not just saying this because we work for it, do your research, we are one of the best, if not the best. That is my presentation to you. I hope if you were on the fence about joining or considering a career in policing, hopefully I've put you on the side of the fence that says, yes, you are ready to wear one of these and maybe be my partner one day. Godwin, if there's any questions at this point, I'd be more than happy to ask if the time permits.
Yeah, thank you, Officer Boyle, and thank you, Florence, for doing the coming on to help with the recording. I have asked that people can raise the question in the chat, and I'll be monitoring at this point in time. I haven't seen it at this point in time, but actually before you come in, Officer Boyle, I did mention about that, and you touch on so much more detail, of course. I did mention about the minimum requirements in terms of what you have to meet, and also indicating it's very competitive. And I do understand that people do go to community college to take the police foundations. Of course, that eventually they would have the chance to go to the OPC, the Ontario Police College. But it's getting very competitive, as you said, and actually people can certainly join one of the finest in your region, but also I indicated in the Greater Toronto area, Toronto Police Services, Durham region, and I gather the other areas around us, Niagara region and so on, certainly will look to those kind of qualification. But certainly that from what you're saying, it gives the people here on the line and the Zoom certainly some much more detailed knowledge, because actually, I didn't realize you have to pay so much for the going to the Ontario Police College.
Yeah, it
Now
used
that
to
might
be.
not be appropriate question. I don't know or not, but if I understand it correctly, I do have a question here. What kind of physical trainings are required? So, officer, can you give us, the audience here, or attendants here, some idea what kind of physical training?
So the physical training, like we talked about, just to get into the job, the pin testing and the prep testing is what is required. Now, I know you don't, some of the things that you have in your gym doesn't simulate what we're going to be using for the prep, because the prep, it's a machine where you have to pull it out, push it in, and you have to keep it locked, and you have to walk from side to side. But if you can Google, for Shum, you can Google police prep test, and it'll show you what is required. York Regional Police actually has practice preps. So recruiting will offer, and they've offered in the summertime, practice preps. So you can actually go out, you've never seen it before, just go and take, a run through it and see where you are, just to kind of compare. But for females especially, upper body strength is something that we see that a lot of females don't have. So if you can work on push-ups or do weights to get that upper body strength, do bicep curls and all that, your shoulders, because it's gonna help you tremendously when you have to do those push-pull restraints and to pull the dummy. When you go to the Ontario Police College as well, there's a swimming component in there. So I know some people are, involved in like jiu-jitsu or some kind of mixed martial arts. Every kind of training you will benefit from.
Okay, thank you, officer. Now, I know people have questions. Now, before people raising a question and for officer to answer, I also am going to put in the chat survey monkey. Officer, is not a real monkey, but a survey, so that if you don't mind to take a minute to complete it, it helps us to plan and do better next time. So I'm just going to hit the button, and then I hope that people on the line can go to the hit the survey monkey and help us to do it better next time, and also share with us your experiences. And if you have more questions, please do raise it in the chat. But in the meantime, that officer, I'm just curious to know, and I'm interested to talk about the upper strength and so on and so on. Now, is that usually when you recruitment, you don't think about that, but is it not true for police officer? You can quote unquote retire at a relatively young age?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you started the job, right? Because like we said, it's you can apply to policing at 18. Well, unfortunately, you have to be 21 by and this is put forward by the Police Service Act. You cannot carry a gun until you're 21. Okay, so we have different programs like the auxiliary program, for instance, where you can come in and auxiliary, you're doing police work essentially, except it's volunteer. So you're getting to see how it works within, because you do right along with officers, and just to see exactly what we do on a day in, night in basis, right? So that way you can always view it, and it's a minimum requirement of 144 hours a year. Now that entails you could do, like when we go back after the pandemic, ride-alongs, and it counts towards your hours. You can go to events. So if there's a parade, like Santa Claus parade, for instance, you go there, you earn your hours there. You get to do different things. You have minimum you have monthly meeting. So if you do, say, one ride-along every month, you're covering your 12 hours. And you don't have to stay the 12 hours. You can stay 6, 7 hours if you want to, right? But auxiliary is another avenue that you can look at if you're not ready or at the age. And we do take a lot of or officers from the auxiliary process.
Interesting question. You have an interesting point you're talking about auxiliary. Are they paid or those are volunteer?
That's volunteer.
Oh,
that's volunteer. And we, you know what, we have people that come through the auxiliary process that they don't want to be police officers. They just want to volunteer, and they want to volunteer beside police officers. So, you know, they go to parades and all of that, and they help out the community.
Now, given how competitive it is to become a police officer, would it happen if a candidate want to have a better chance to volunteer as an auxiliary officer and then apply?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And like I just said, we take a lot off the auxiliary officers to become police officers. Because once you've been an auxiliary police officer for, let's say, 1.5 to 2 years, you are far better equipped, and your knowledge of police work is vastly, you know, superior to somebody that's just coming off the road without any of it. So yes, we do. And just in the last class before I left, we hired, I think, 4 or 5 auxiliary members as full-time police officers.
Okay, thank you, officer. I'd like to call again for people on the Zoom meeting. Please don't be shy, raise a question on the chat. I mean, we have question on physical training, but we certainly like to, I'm sure Officer Boyle would like to hear what kind of question you have and how great a candidate you might be. So don't be shy. I know we started a little bit behind, and I don't want to keep everybody behind after 5 for too long. So please do take advantage of the time while Officer Boyle is here to ask a question, and do spare a second to fill out the survey at SurveyMonkey.
And going back to what you said before, Godwin, about the price for Ontario Police College, when I came on 16 years ago, it was $7,500. Before that, maybe 2 years before that, it was $5,000. But you don't have to have that money right away to say, here you go, here's almost $15,000. The police credit union, it's a bank that provides that money for police officers right from the get-go. And the rate is usually more competitive than like any other bank, because it's like a police, it's a banking for policing, right? So they give you that money at a minimal finance rate, and you pay it back, as I said, off the paycheck, right? So you're getting paid once you are hired. So you're going to get whatever it is you're getting taken off. Say you get taken off $200 every paycheck. You're going to do that until you pay back, and it won't take, by no time it'll be paid up. Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Godwin.
I'm sorry. I just put on the chat a last call of questions. So anyone have any question, please do raise it. And
Okay.
maybe I'll give you a minute because it's about 5:03 now. And I appreciate, Officer, you spend your time with us. As I mentioned, that we would very much appreciate people who have questions, and now I got one. So, which great. So I have a question here for you, Officer Boy, is that how much proportion of police officers working on rotation shift? What are the types of regular hour in terms of the role, if any?
Okay, so when I haven't been on platoon, we call it, for a number of years. I've been away from that. But typically on a platoon, say I worked in Vaughan when I worked on the road. So Vaughan is the business area, and you would have upwards of 40 officers working on a day shift, right? So on a given shift, 40 officers, and then the hours I explained earlier, they start at 6 in the morning and 7. So we have one starting at 6. So you'd have 20 officers starting at 6, 20 officers starting at 7, and it goes from 6 to 6, 7 to 7, and at 6, and even before that, you have the 12 to 12 officers. You may have a handful, say about 6 officers coming in for 12 and for 3. And then at night, it would be the same strength at 20 for 6 and 20 for 7. So it used to be about 40 officers. Different districts could be a little bit different because you may not need as many officers, because it's like up in Sutton, for instance. It's a larger land area, but the population is not as vast as a Markham or Richmond Hill or Vaughan. So the South End, we call them, so Vaughan, Richmond Hill, Markham is more populated, so we need more officers. Up north, yes, there's lots of land, but there's houses are few and far in between. Hope that answered your question, Ming.
Okay, I hope the person who asked the question got the responses that he or she want. Okay.
You're welcome.
The person did say thank you, and you probably see an officer. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Officer Boy again and everyone who have joined us, and particularly for people who have been patiently in the beginning while we are working through with the technical connection. And feel free to leave this breakout group to go to the main meeting. You have the time. And Officer Boy, and thank you so much. Don't go away. I'll be back. I will just go into the main meeting. I'll be back with you, if you don't mind, Officer, just for a one-on-one, a few questions, if you would not mind to answer that, so we can share with people who cannot attend today. And also want to thank Florence for stepping in the last minute to help the recording. So have a great afternoon, everyone. And Officer, it's just like someone used to say in the movie, I'll be back.
All right. And thank you again, everybody, for joining. It was a pleasure presenting this information to you.